Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and we love releasing content for y'all. But one thing we want to put out there, just kind of as a disclaimer or a pastoral recommendation, if you will, is that while we're going through these movies, we certainly have a set list, and not every one of them is our favorite. It is also true that not every one of them we necessarily recommend. So some of them are going to be a little bit more for mature audiences, and a lot of the subject matter and material is going to be for mature audiences. And so we just ask you guys, just listener discretion advised. Me, Marty, and Ryan, we're always going to keep the podcast itself clean. It's going to be clean content, but some of the subject material might be more appropriate for mature audiences. So just keep that in mind. As I said, this is not a recommendation on the films. This is us just walking through each of these movies and trying to put out good content. We love the opportunity for you guys to watch these movies along with us, but by no means are you expected to, and are we wholeheartedly approving of them. So just like I said, listener discretion advised.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, crap, I forgot. Oh, that was funny. All right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Three Dudes in a Movie podcast. My name is Marty.
And I'm Jacob.
And that's Ryan.
Yep.
Awesome. And I have just one question for Jacob.
Alrighty.
Jacob, how does this sound? A lovely new home in a wonderful land. A garden all your own that you can play some football in. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Where's it at? Is it in?
Oh, it's
in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, even better.
It's in Florida. Even worse.
Much worse than that.
Where's it at, Marty?
Well,
I don't want to go to England.
Daddy, I don't want to go to England.
First of all, we're not talking about crap. We were gonna not time. Yeah, well, we're not talking about Three Idiots because that's coming up at later. Oh no!
No, Three Idiots is gonna come out before this.
So we just came out with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I was gonna share our One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest story because I forgot last episode. So when you guys
bonus,
when you and Ryan specifically said, "Hey, let's not do anything that's timely. That way we can put this away," because it's been busy. We've been busy. This is our catch-up episode. So I said, "Hey, let's keep this not tied down to any sort of timestamp or anything." I went for sure. Anyway, so One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the one that we talked about.
Probably 2 months
ago. Probably
2 months ago to this episode. Probably by the time it airs.
But I forgot to share my One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest story.
I'd love to hear it. Right now? Yes, please do.
Yeah, cool. So my great uncle, my dad's uncle, he was a fascinating man. He was one of 10. Yeah, my grandpa and him, they had 8 other siblings, large household, and he was the oldest. And he lived an extraordinary life. So one of the things he did was he was a zookeeper at the Little Rock Zoo. And so like they would and looking back, this doesn't sound very legal, but he'd be able to like sneak in like my dad and like people in and go look at like the lion exhibit after hours. Anyway, that's not weird at all. But one of the other things
that's awesome.
One of the other things he was a this is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He was a I don't know, one of the caretakers. He worked at a mental institute. Yeah. He's like whatever Washington and whatever the other guys were.
I don't remember their names.
Yeah. So he was like one of those guys. He wasn't as nefarious as they were, but for character to plot development. But so one of the stories I remember my dad telling me. This is one of the stories that he had. Was they were getting up, getting all the patients and people out and about for the day.
Naturally.
And there was one guy. Well, there were 2 guys. Two guys in a a cell or whatever. And so they walk by and like, "Hey, time to get up." And one of the guys gets up. He's getting ready. Then 10, 15 minutes later, get up. One of those guys, the other guy's still not getting up. He's like, "Hey, it's time to get up." And then they're all about to go out, leave for the day, do whatever, go outside or whatever. That guy, the one guy, is still in bed, and his roommate, or his cellmate, is, about to walk out. And they're like, "Hey, why aren't you getting up?" And the guy laying down says, "God said I didn't have to get up today." And the other guy says, "No, I didn't." I was like, "Ooh, so that's why I don't go in there." Anyway,
Well,
thought
that's cold right there.
It was pretty funny.
That's pretty good.
That's my one flew over the cuckoo's nest story. Then I found $20.
A mental institute. You did $20. Wow.
Yeah. Anyway,
What'd you spend it on? Always taking a drink. Oh.
a $20 gift card to Denny's. I spent it on a $40 gift card to Denny's.
How'd you?
Anyway, so we're talking about Belfast.
What's going on?
Belfast. What is Belfast about, Marty?
Belfast is about the. Oh my gosh! I'm sorry. We are on one today. Belfast is a lovely film, that is about the quote unquote Civil War.
Catholics and the Protestants went into all their
That's
silver.
Right. Between the Catholics and the Protestants in Ireland. And the film takes place in 1969. Northern Ireland. Oh, you're right. Big difference. Not even the same place.
Not even remotely the same place.
So
it's like saying you're from Jersey or you're from, Arkansas.
No, I don't think that's true.
Oh, okay. Well, Ryan, how many Protestants are there in New Jersey?
Some.
How many Catholics are there?
Some.
More or less?
More or less.
More
Catholics.
More non-Catholic?
Non-Catholic. Yeah, definitely.
Well,
definitely more non-Protestant as well, probably.
More non-believers at all.
Okay.
That sounds like
Well,
New Jersey.
out of the believers, are there more Catholics or Protestants?
I don't actually know.
Okay.
Do you know Arkansas's?
Probably
it's definitely more
Catholic.
Protestant. yeah. I mean,
Jersey's probably more Catholic.
See, so there we go. There's a civil war. They're waiting to happen.
Silver War.
So anyway, Belfast. We're in Ireland.
Yeah, and there's a civil war between the Catholics and the Protestants, and we follow along the journey of this wee little lad, who turns out to be who is actually.
Maybe he's Kenneth Branagh, the director of the film.
Isn't he supposed to be like?
Yeah, it's some yeah. Oh, so we should talk about what brought us here.
Yes.
So
Go ahead.
we got as I mentioned earlier. So we just finished up with Easter last weekend, right? And so we were really, really busy. We were all between being out of town, working a lot, that sort of thing. We just kind of. Our 3 week, we typically keep a 3 week buffer, and that went out the window.
Yeah,
so
it's gone.
So we're like, okay, well, we got to watch Three Idiots, which we will. We will watch that. But in the meantime, what is a good movie that we can watch? And Mark, our wonderful landlord, came back with a suggestion because we asked, like, does anybody know any autobiographical movies, like the director?
And he was the only one who answered the question.
Yeah, so let that listener, if you're listening, and we know you are,
do better.
You can get on the podcast if you just respond to our questions. But that was the only question I've ever had so you missed it. But so Belfast is semi-autobiographical about Kenneth Branagh and his upbringing in Belfast, and so we thought we should watch it. And it was only let me look up the runtime. It's only an hour and a half.
It's like
98
minutes with credits.
Yeah, I mean, well, Ryan, an hour 38. Did you? Was it an hour 24 without the credits? It was quick.
I don't remember. It was short.
Yeah, it was really short.
Half the length of the
Three Idiots.
Yeah, Three Idiots. That was the other one. I was like,
Three Idiots is literally twice as long.
Yeah, but
shout out to Keith.
How much do you guys know a ton about the Irish Civil War there?
I gotta be honest, no idea it had been a thing. I can't believe.
Really?
I can't believe I'd never heard about this.
Yeah.
And how big a deal it was, but no, I had no idea.
I guess I should say wait, hold on. I'm gonna look up the right, because it's not necessarily the Civil War was back in the 20s, but I'm gonna look up the Troubles. They call it the Troubles.
The Troubles of the late 60s.
Yeah. And they went up. Well, they went up until almost 2000. So I mean, you talk about nearly 40 years of just religious division in the country of Ireland, and there in Northern Ireland.
I remember hearing about it growing up at church.
Yeah. I remember reading about it like in English class, and not, there's certain like short stories and stuff that focus on the conflict, and not really understanding it. Because to be honest, like it is a fairly recent phenomenon, right? Like
that's super recent.
But we think of it like when I, like, for instance, if I bring it up to other people, like, hey, I watched, because this happened. Hey, I watched a movie about the the Protestants and the Catholics fighting in Ireland, an individual would respond, "Oh, that sounds boring, and why would I want to watch something that's like that as historical as that?" I'm like, well, no. Okay, you might be assuming that that's like a Reformation,
Yeah, you might be assuming
1600s. Yeah, right. It's like, no. This is a fairly recent development. And so, yeah, I don't know. I didn't know a ton about it. I still don't know like a lot about it, besides obviously there's religious persecution to go around.
There's more than enough for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And it's still a very contentious thing to talk about.
Absolutely.
I think that some of that comes up. I don't know if you guys notice, like particularly in sports, like Conor McGregor. Anytime that the spotlight gets brought onto the country of Ireland, like it's kind of it's interesting because there's like
it's never the most positive light.
Well, but there's like there's an entire Gaelic culture there that no one knows unless you're unless you've been there or you're from there or you're an expert on it. Like I don't know anything, but there's a whole other language, there's a whole other and that kind of gets forgotten. And so when I guess for me, I don't say Western assumption, but my American assumption is when that happens, it's like, well, how could that, thankfully we live in a place that is relatively peaceful when it comes to religious liberty and understanding the difference between Protestants and Catholics, and even within the Protestant denomination, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've never seen any Molotov cocktails thrown over the name of.
Yeah, thankfully, right now. But like that's not. We have to recognize that that's not always the rule, right? Like sometimes that's the way that like I said, peaceful harmony is. What little we might have of that is actually an exception. So anyway, that was that when we were coming into that movie, I was really interested in that just to kind of see that. It's one that doesn't get covered too often, and so I feel like obviously this was like I said, semi-autobiographical. I don't know how much of it covered Kenneth Branagh's life, probably obviously a good chunk of it, but I do feel like sorry, I don't want to jump into the plot or anything, but he ends it with, and I did love this. He says. Of course. For the ones who stayed, for the ones who left, and for all the ones who were lost, Belfast. And I was just like, yeah, like you could tell this was a passion project for him.
Absolutely.
I'm assuming everybody involved. Like this is a chance to tell a story that often gets overlooked.
They
or
definitely went through this.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a tendency to misunderstand it. And yet this was a chance to, I don't know, bring a lot of really tough but encouraging themes to the forefront.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess we should jump into it. Marty, what do you think about it?
I quite liked it. I mean, the short runtime is hard to argue with. I mean,
it was refreshing.
It was.
I was like, I could. It felt like The Pianist, but not overly. Like it was like, oh, this is when people make creative decisions about what should and shouldn't be in the movie.
Yep.
Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
I think that's quite a good point. I think we have to start with the soundtrack. And just
Van Morrison.
Absolutely wonderful
Killed it.
Van Morrison is, and the soundtrack was. I'm definitely going to be listening to it for quite a while.
Yeah.
I know you have been listening to it already a little bit, right?
Well, I hadn't listened to Van Morrison before in my life, besides Brown Eyed Girl. So that's how this happened. This conversation happened. So Mark recommended it, and then I heard it I heard the recommendation in another podcast. Not a movie podcast, like totally different, and but it just kind of came up, and then. They were like, yeah, Van Morrison. I was on a road trip, so I was going home, and or maybe I was going to Fayetteville. Anyway, so I was on a road trip, and I thought, well, I'll listen to some new music I hadn't listened to before, and apparently Van Morrison's great, because, I mean, he's famous, but not everybody's...
Yeah, because of Brown Eyed Girl.
Yeah.
It's a good song.
It's great.
It's fine.
But then I started listening to some of his other stuff, I'm like, oh, wow, like Van Morrison slaps.
Yeah.
And everybody else like, yeah, dude. And... So that, yeah, to see the soundtrack and the way that played out in the movie, I was like, dude, I could just listen to this all day long.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a lovely soundtrack.
Also Irish. Also, I'm assuming a really passion project for him as well.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, his age would line up with probably having endured some of that.
Yeah.
Unless he wrote Brown Eyed Girl when he was like 11.
Or about a Catholic.
Anyway. But yeah, it's shot in black and white. Fascinating decision, but
creative decision.
Quite liked it.
Do you know if it was actually shot in black and white or color corrected to be black and white?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me see.
I believe it was shot in black and white, but that's worth a Google.
It was probably shot in color.
Let's see here. The two. we've worked in black and white in the past. Section of their films have had black and white. I don't know. Keep going, Marty.
All right.
Is this the first? To me, this is for me. Maybe it is for you. Is this the first black and white movie you watched that you didn't feel like was too, like, artsy, kind of in its own way, kind of thing?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
But I think when you factor in when black and white is done as a creative decision,
Right. Yeah, that's what I meant.
that's a pretty hard maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is almost always an artsy thing. Obviously, don't want to discredit older movies that had to shoot in black and white.
Yeah, and that's not what I mean. Yeah.
But I'll give it a maybe. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, I don't. Or just lack of color. It's such an interesting. I just kind of glanced over. Still don't have a 100% answer, but I'm looking at a interview with Kenneth Branagh and seeing it appears as if they shot in black and white. But kind of looking into his reasoning for it, that this is a movie that is filled with a lot of pop culture references at the time. And a lot of movies and kind of ode to some of these
absolutely
great movies that I'm sure he enjoyed.
Yeah, and I loved
books
seeing
and such as well. So I feel like that's
like the film aspect of Buddy.
Like, I feel as though this is one of those movies that when I knew it was going to be in black and white, which is always a bold decision, but it wasn't the point of the project. Like some of those movies that now that when they do make it, like I said, an artsy way, it's supposed to, because it adds to, for whatever, but it's ultimately distracting. Whereas this one, it didn't bring too much attention to itself, and really was just kind of, like you said, the reasoning behind it was like, what was it? Well, because it reflected like the movies I grew up watching. So
yeah,
that's what I wanted.
You really don't even notice it's in black and white. It's so beautiful
until you get that color,
yes.
and then
man,
it's
one of my favorite aspects of the movie. Is and I did some research on it. I was like, why did they decide to shoot some things in color, or what is in color and why is it in color? And it's all imagination. So the interview that I saw, the director said that everything that was in color in the film, besides the opening shot,
right?
If you remember, we have like the modern Belfast. So after that, everything from theaters, stage play theater or movie theater, is seen in color because it is Buddy's imagination at work. It is being captivated so much so. And I just thought that was a really cool decision, especially with his grandma's glasses.
Yeah, I know,
at the
that
stage
part
play.
was
So cool. What a
You're
lovely
like, oh, wow,
shot.
There's some yellow there.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. Ryan, did you come up with a definitive answer?
No.
I do wonder though if
it was probably shot in color.
Yeah,
and then just converted to black and white.
Because those color.
I don't know that the film cameras at that quality.
Yeah.
Allow you to film in straight black and white.
Which also, this is a very beautiful, like.
This is a high definition movie.
Part of me wanted to be like, can I see this in color? Just because I bet the colors pop.
Yeah.
It
was weird to see such a high def thing in black.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're like, this is like an old movie, but not.
And when we raised that question, I want to see it in color. Branagh probably says something along the lines of, "That's not the reason for the film."
Yeah,
and
of course.
It's just kind of like. That's just.
I wonder.
But it's sitting around somewhere. It is somewhere.
It exists.
It is somewhere on a digital file.
But like, did they take shortcuts when doing set design and props and stuff? Or like, did they actually add the color to things even though it was black and white?
Maybe.
That's what I was wondering too. Because those colors
could easily have saved so much time on the set and production stuff by just not painting it.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true.
That's a good point.
Yeah, maybe they just found this perfect row of houses to use.
Yeah.
But they were in really bad shape. They're like, we can't tell in black and white. So,
I don't know, but it's also one of those. It's like, it's kind of the point of the film is that they're in really bad shape, so we'll just leave them like they are.
That's true.
Actually, we make them in black and white so that it looks worse. I don't know. That is an interesting conversation. Like, that stuff gets talked about in the studio. Somebody's like,
yeah, they had to sit down and make that decision
on that. Like, how does this come off? How does this look? This shot looks really, really crisp, but that also means you can kind of see between the lines. So don't be, anyway.
Absolutely. And this is one of those movies that I want any of our listeners to think about. Like, what a perfect movie to look at and think about the process that goes into this movie.
Yeah.
The fact that how many meetings people had to sit down and make the decisions that they made for this movie. This is a really good movie to reflect on some of those things about.
And it's really, I guess, easy. I say easy. It's easier because it's such a tight movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just kind of, afterwards, I wrote down some of my things. It's like, okay, yeah, it is fast paced. It's quick. Like, things happen pretty quickly. If it slows down, then a lot of those scenes, they don't stay for too long. Like, they're on to the next conversation. Yeah. A lot of overlapping scenes. One thing kind of links to another.
Yep.
A lot of what I love this, because if you're thinking about it from the perspective of Buddy, our child hero here, there's a lot of what is called
it's called this, and I'll call it that too.
I call it, diegetic sound, diegetic dialogue. So there's a lot of things that are happening around in the entire movie, like that. You hear bits and pieces of conversations as you're walking along the street, and that's how you get most of your information. It's not necessarily one person talking to another about what's happening. It's hearing all these conversations of like, oh no, they're in the streets. Oh, we'll get out of here. Oh, well, I've got to go through the checkpoint. Oh, well, now so-and-so's back in town. Like, but none of that is one character talking to another. Like, none of that is Buddy talking to any other character.
No, it's Buddy hearing it in passing.
Exactly, which makes it very atmospheric, and I think that's what they do so well, and I think this is intentional. Part of the theme is atmospheric. Is on one street. You hear everything, and it makes it feel like there's nowhere to turn. You said this a couple times where it was like, of course, so-and-so over here. So many overheard conversations, right? They're in that back alleyway, working at the tool shop or whatever. And it's like, somebody's just literally on the other side of the wall. Like, I heard that, like that. And it's kind of the point. It's like, it feels kind of just like concentrated, not cramped, but it is like, hey, what is on the street is our world. And one person's going to hear it on the other side of it, like, and
there's no secrets.
Exactly. There's no secrets, anything like that. So I really, really love that. I think that kind of hammered home the point of like, hey, this is home. This is what you know. There's really nothing anyway, there's no reason to go. And that's also part of the tension is like, when is it okay? When is it time to leave home? When it's
and this kind of environment, this kind of tight-knit neighborhood is going to be the type of neighborhood that like people don't leave.
Yeah.
You don't leave this kind of neighborhood.
Right. Yeah.
And so when that arises, it's really, when you sit and think about it, like we literally are right now, it's a really extra fascinating plot point where it's like, it's not just this family trying to leave to get out of danger. I mean, they are leaving the roots of their legacies and their families.
Well, and I'll say this, like, it cost some of them more than others. Right?
It did.
Because realistically, like when they said we're going to England or we're thinking about going to England, he freaks out. He's like, I don't want to go to England. Like,
and then we say naturally, same buddy, same buddy,
nobody wants to go to England. But because so-and-so's not there. Catherine's not there. His
little cute 9-year-old girlfriend. Yeah.
But like, it doesn't mean as much to him necessarily. It doesn't cost as much to him as it would. Obviously his mom, she's the best character in the movie.
She's so good.
Oh my goodness.
And when the dad gives her props.
Yes.
Well,
cause she feels the most tension where it is like, where it's like, I'm either way, it's going to be a tough decision for me. Her dad or their dad, her husband, Pa, it's like, it's definitely his home too. But he's gone.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately 50 weeks out of the year.
Yeah, he just works.
Yeah, and so to him, it's like,
overseas,
hey, I'm looking out for the safety of my family, and it doesn't, and if we have a spot, I'm willing to cut ties and go. And to her, she's like, you don't know what that means to us. And then, of course, you have Pop and then Granny who, they can't.
Yeah,
and they recognize that. They're like, hey, this is home. This is where I'm going to die. Like, you guys go on without me. And I think that's man, that's just really kind of pun intended, like that hit home for me, like that, like recognizing that just especially that generational tension, where it means more,
and it does,
and you have to recognize your place in the greater scheme of what home is. So love that. I like I said, Ma is the best character. She has these super deep philosophical existential reflections. Like she's just like, well, where else will we go? Well, this is what's going to happen, and this is how things meant to be. And it's like, and it's not like, it's sort of a panic, but there's moments of clarity, especially when she's talking. They're playing at the park, and she's talking to one of the other moms in the neighborhood, and it's like, do moms really have these conversations? This is really deep. Like, I'm not sure what to, talk about identity and knowing where you're from and sticking with it no matter what. And it's just like, I was real. So, and then of course, any of her conversation with Pa. But anyway, I just think she's the best character. Of course, love Pop. He was another one, really deep thinker. Him and Buddy.
And the grandpa jokes in this movie.
Oh yes, so good. Yeah. Trying to think, what else did I? Like I said, beautiful city shots, use of color, and then of course, pop cultural references galore. It was you could tell that there was a deep appreciation for the culture of that time, and it didn't ever come off as like trite or anything. I mean, like Star Trek. We're watching Star Trek. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what we're doing, and then we're reading Flannery O'Connor and all the things. So it felt really tasteful.
Sign of the times.
Really well done.
It's awesome.
Exactly. Cool. Any other thoughts about it? I was gonna do a quick flyover of the plot, and we'll
go for it.
See what. But you guys have anything else you'd like to add?
I'll add it. All
right, we'll run comes. Ryan, were you about to say something?
I thought it was interesting that all the pop culture TV references were American shows.
Yeah.
There was nothing from the UK.
That's true. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder.
Well, go America, baby.
Yeah. It's Kenneth Branagh, like, not about the UK. But that is interesting because, like, I wonder how much of it, like, we would have understood if it was, I mean, it's like BBC. Okay, got that. Because I'm sure there was a lot of, like, newscasts and stuff from, like, BBC. But then all the other pop culture stuff is American. Yeah, that was really, really, really interesting. It's like, oh, I kind of understand what we're going for here. But anyway, so Belfast. So we start off with a modern city shot, and then we're transported to August 1969, which is black and white. So then we get Buddy. There's lots of accents. Then we probably should have turned on the subtitles halfway through it because the accents were really faithful to the people there.
That joke that I started the movie with really aged well, and Ryan called it out. Remember, I said, I wonder how long it took all these actors to learn English for their roles. Yeah. Halfway through, Ryan goes, based on what I'm hearing, they didn't practice enough.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it, but yeah, we probably should put some subtitles. So yeah, Buddy, who we know is Buddy, walking through the streets. He's got his trash can lid and his sword. He's just hanging out. And then next thing you know, there's a siren. The world it goes from happy times, and then all of a sudden, bam, there's an explosion. There's people crying out. There's pleads, kids watching in the middle of the street. That's safe, right? And then Molotovs everywhere. Some mom picks him up. Cap American just goes Captain America with the shield, with the trash can shield, protects him, throws him under the table, or takes him inside, throws him under the table, don't move, brings in Will, and then we see Billy, the titular antagonist for the movie. He screams out, "You've been warned. Get these people out of your streets." He says another word.
He swears.
Yeah, he swears.
Very good. Very good Christian man, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, we'll get into that. There's a really good line in there that from Pa. I think if you can remember it. Oh, it was so good. I know. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, you'll have to remind me.
Car blown up. They put the Molotov, or they make it the Molotov cocktail, so to speak. And then we get news. A lot of TV in the windows, right? Like that kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's like a. On one end, I think it's sort of a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Like it's,
learning through the news.
Well, the shot of like the TV and the TVs in the store window.
Oh yeah, the store window. Yeah.
So this is one of those examples where I'm like, it's not necessarily like that motif or that shot is not necessarily like it again, it is an ode to simpler times back then, rather than being like, oh, here's your cliche, TV news shot in the movie. I thought it was really well done. So obviously there's this. So then we're brought to forefront. Why are all these people just? I say protesting, but this is aggressive.
Yeah. Why is this happening?
Yeah. So we have some Catholics living in Protestant neighborhoods. We're not really shown. It's not really explained like what was the catalyst for that event, because I feel as though the Catholics have probably been living in those neighborhoods for a hot minute.
Yeah.
So we don't know like what event it lit the powder keg, so to speak. But anyway, so yeah, there's lots of things. The house for value. I don't know what that is, but that was a sign on the one end of the street. The house for value kept coming back. More train and ambulance sirens. Back to TV in the living room. And then it shows the troops showing up in the streets, tanks, riot shields. Obviously, things around them are picking up, but the street is still relatively not peaceful. But there's not riot shields and stuff hanging out.
And they're still living there.
Yeah, exactly. So things are relatively secure. They have the curfew instated, security checkpoints. They make the big blockade out of
the car and some trash.
Yeah, and like pallets and stuff. And then you have people walking the streets with the torches. So that's your security force, is these random old guys that are walking around with yeah. So then we go to Star Trek is on TV. This is when Ryan started to pay attention. He said, oh, yeah, Star Trek.
And we said, oh, is this the one with Will Shatner? And then you can see the TV in the background starring Will Shatner.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's when we had the first one of, I guess it was Pop. He was drinking tea, sitting on, I guess, one of the outhouse or something out there.
Yeah, they just sit on their outside toilet
talking with Pa, and he says, clear up that bit of trouble we were talking about. And then one of the ladies says,
the granny goes, we have ears in here too.
We're not deaf back here. Yeah. I have in here Will's talking about Catholics, Mom speaking Irish gibberish. Then they're talking about Robin and the Seven Hoods talk. That sort of thing.
That's a musical. No, it's not.
Yeah. And then that's when he's talking about, like, Dad's talking about, hey, there's no side to this conflict. There's no their side, our side.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And then Buddy makes a great point. He says, if we're Catholic, we wouldn't have to go to church because we live in a religion of fear. He's got a good point, and he seems to be pretty.
All we got to do is apologize every time we do something bad, and we can do whatever we want. Yeah.
He seems pretty excited about not going.
And important to mention that Buddy's family is Protestant.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Right. They're Protestant.
Just clarifying.
Yeah. But the tension is that they're not sympathetic one way or another, but in some regards they're. Go ahead, Ryan. Maybe this.
I think they also lived on the street with a lot of Catholics.
Yeah. So
that's for sure.
Yeah, and so
and that's why. What was the protagonist? Billy wanted to recruit their Buddy's dad so badly.
Rat him out. Yeah. Was it ever confirmed? Like, what was his dad doing
for work?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Because I feel like he was probably doing some stuff sympathetic towards the Catholics.
Maybe.
And maybe Billy knew, but I don't know. Anyway, so we had the church scene, the hellfire and brimstone preacher, fork in the road.
There are two roads.
Yeah.
Man just spitting everywhere.
Yeah, and then he says, now, money. And then they're like,
he goes, now, money.
Yeah, he's like, okay.
And Buddy goes, great job, sir. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Great message.
Yeah. So then he's drawing at night. Okay. Dancing in the street, more saxophone, or maybe it was clarinet. All right.
It was beautiful.
Will talking to the cousin. Now, was that side of the family Catholic? Or no, they were talking about a Catholic family. Anyway, so I had here father telling wonderful joke. What was the joke? Oh crud!
I don't remember.
I can see the shot. I just don't remember. Man, we got to write down those jokes. It was a good joke. It was funny. Anyway.
Those jokes were really good, though.
Yeah. And then there's a conversation with, I guess, Buddy and one of the cousins, like, are you Protestant or Catholic? What's a trick question? You have to say, you don't say Catholic because that's maybe with the Protestants. You say Protestant, but that's what they want you to think, or that's what they know that you want to say to get out of it. So then you double down on it and just say Protestant anyway. Anyway, it was just like a really dumb conversation. Anyway, they're playing soccer in the street, or I guess in the alleyway, and up comes Billy Clinton. Billy Clanton is a bad guy. He is one who is with the Protestants, but he is also a violent man. He's aggressive. He is the leader of these protesters. And this is when the first time he has a conversation with Pa, he says, hey, we need to cleanse the community, which means trouble for the family.
I found the joke.
Oh, okay. What's the joke? Read the joke.
So the doctor says, listen, John, I've got some bad news and worse.
Oh, yeah.
John says, oh no, what's the bad news? And the doctor says, well, you've only got 24 hours to live. John says, that's awful. What could be worse than that? Doctor says, well, I've been trying to get a hold of you since yesterday.
Ah, got him.
And the whole neighborhood laughs.
Hey, simpler times. It was funny.
That's a good joke.
And so then there's, then we move on. There's more TVs.
Lots of TVs.
More TVs. There's
Lots
Volcano.
of TVs, lots of movies.
Volcano at the movies. Dinosaurs. It's 1 million years BC. That's a movie. That's our first movie that shows up on screen.
See some dinosaurs and some women in promiscuous
and
BC clothing.
What is it? Was it Ma or Granny? It was like, I can see why you wanted to watch this movie.
It was Ma. Yeah, it was his wife.
Yeah, it was his wife. Yeah.
It's educational.
It's educational. And then there's a hushed conversation between parents. This is when they start talking about either going to... Did they say Vancouver or Sydney? I wrote Vancouver.
Both.
Okay.
They had brochures for both.
Okay. So how did they end up England? Like, what is
Remember the...
That's where his job was.
Yeah.
And he got promoted.
He got promoted.
He couldn't get a job in Vancouver. I'd go to Vancouver.
Well, he was already working.
He had a job and he got promoted at it, and they offered him a house, so they decided to move.
Okay. So then there's the...
with a garden. A house with a garden.
Oh, right. Of course, yeah.
To play football.
And indoor plumbing.
They don't have any.
Oh, 2 indoor toilets.
They don't have any of that in Sydney.
What's wrong with an outdoor toilet?
So then we have radio casualty reports. What is it? The American Reporter says it reminded me of Harlem, but it's easier to get guns here.
Yeah.
Boy, is that aged.
What a quote, though.
Yeah,
that's a pretty powerful quote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it does. It kind of puts, because then, like, that puts it in perspective. Like, oh, okay. Like, Americanize it for me. Okay, I've got that. This is serious. Like, this is
it's as bad as Harlem was.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Except that it's easier to get guns. So yeah, like I did appreciate that line. Buddy, we get the first him. Is this the first time that he sees Catherine?
Yes,
he gets a 17%.
Our first classroom.
Yeah, he gets a 17%. He likes the girl. He's talking to Pop about it.
No, he's not the one with 17%.
Oh, who is it?
That's just some kid.
Oh, okay, yeah. What did he get?
He got 3rd place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought he got 3rd place with 17%.
No, just some random kid just got.
Oh, okay.
They only shared this 2 scores from the worst and the best student.
Yeah.
And so I just thought it was funny that they highlighted this random character
kid is like,
who scored a 17%
like,
out of 100.
Thanks for outing me like that.
But he just gets up and smiles and walks
to cat my boy.
Walks to the last place seat. Also, what a fascinating idea to rank your students by seats.
Yeah, I'm sure that works educationally. Because that's what they talk about. The kids that need the most help, they usually recommend hiding them in the back of the room.
and emphasizing how bad they did.
Yeah, and the kids that don't need as much help, you want to be sure to keep them up front and close. That way,
teacher says the astute honor of having my at my right side.
Yeah, that definitely seems like an old idea. I don't know what. Hey, Ireland, man. And then he goes there. Granny gives him a coin. I guess he uses that. What does he use that on? Does he use that for Catherine to get her? I think he buys her flowers.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Anyway, so then he's watching her in the window. She's getting her hair brushed. Remember that?
Yeah, and she smiles at him, right?
And things are looking up, right? Things are
little 9-year-old boy about to have his 9-year-old girlfriend.
Yeah, things are looking positive. So then, conversation with him and Will in the bedroom. He's like, "What road did we take? I can't remember." He's like, "I don't know. Go to bed."
Go to bed.
I thought that was funny. Then Billy shows up again. Do you want to join a gang? Oh, the conversation between him and his cousin. He says, "Do you want to join a gang?" He says, "Can't. Mom says I'm not allowed." And then
that's the point of gangs.
Yeah. And then let's see.
What gang is it? Not allowed to tell you.
That's when Pop starts talking about fixing grades to get up with the hey, if you fix your grade, you can sit wherever you want, basically, to sit next to Catherine. I have here moon conspiracies. What was that?
Oh, remember he's sitting on the couch with his grandparents, and they're talking about the dark side of the moon, and they're talking about
yeah.
Because it was 69, so they were talking about how they had just landed on the moon. And I don't remember exactly what they said, but what a fascinating conversation that would have been to have.
It was like, what is going on? And he's not paying attention.
Like someone's like, and they're still up there. It's like, no, they're not. They just got back last week.
Yeah.
It's just stuff like that.
Can you imagine? Think about that for a moment, because this is kind of happening right now with us. This wouldn't have been the first time. Well, no, this would have been the second time that we've shot a person into outer space, or I guess into space.
Yep. To the moon.
Well, it's been the second time we shot him into space because the Russians had one. Didn't they have one guy orbit before?
Yeah, they had someone 24 hours before the U.S. got someone to space, and there was multiple space trips.
Oh, okay.
But this was.
To come back, to land on the moon and then come back.
Oh, this was first
time.
Yeah.
This is first time.
The first thing we did was a couple years before we sent someone to the moon and they orbited it. Came back.
But even like the first, think about this: the Russians, the first time we shot a life form, they shot a dog up there, and they said, "How are you going to get it down?" They're like, "We didn't think about that." It's like, why would we want to bring it back? And it's like, oh well, that dog. His
gone.
Dad. Yeah.
At least we brought our chimp back.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, but think about that. Like that is a totally different mental category in your mind that you've not had to think about before. Because that is going to, I mean, it's happening now where they're just shooting up millionaires.
Now we're working on going to Mars
and bringing them back pretty easily, like building a space elevator. Think about that. Like that's the kind of conversations that they are having where it's like, my parents have never even, I mean, they lived through the moon landing, but still like this is a whole other level.
Well, if you think about it, flight was, the Wright brothers were what, 1904 or something like that?
Okay. Yeah.
So in, what would it have been, 60 years, we landed on the moon?
Yeah.
From the first flight, so to speak, to landing on the moon.
That's pretty crazy.
Just think about that.
It's unreal. It's like 65 years to do that.
If you were born in the year 1900 and died in 2000, just imagine the tech change you saw.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like my great-grandmother was born in 1914 or 15.
Yeah.
And she died in 2015.
Yeah.
It's like she remembered seeing the car.
Yeah.
And they would stop class in school to go see the car outside.
That's pretty crazy.
And then she died. When she died, it's like
she knew she was on her
everything
Twitter.
was totally different.
She died. She was on Twitter.
Yeah. That is crazy. I do wonder. Sorry to kind of go back to what Dad does. So one of the days when he comes in, he is talking about like horses. He's betting on horses, and it kind of sounds like he has the races fixed.
Yeah. Oh, because that one guy asks.
Yeah, he's asking about
who should I bet on today.
Yeah. So that's what makes me think what he's doing is probably not like there's might be some Peaky Blinders stuff going on right now.
Maybe he's just good at it.
Nope, that's not how that happens in the 60s, 70s.
Maybe this movie is a prequel to Peaky Blinders.
Is that no, it has to be a sequel. Peaky Blinders is like 1914. It's actually 20.
I didn't know that.
It's after World War I, but before World War II.
My bad.
It's fine. No, it's a good show. It's
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
No, it's okay. You should probably watch it. Get educated.
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy and Tom Hardy.
Oh, that's a good combo.
Yeah,
we got
there's some other
Scarecrow
people.
and Bane.
Yeah, that's why I said I was like, did Chris Nolan direct this? Anyway, so then what? I'm trying to skip ahead. So more TV, some Western. There's some Western. There's that sunset shot. Yeah, off to the sunset. There's an empty street. And then that's when Dad talks. It returns. He's talking about horses. He's talking horses and Catholics. That's what I put. Buddy breaks out the Matchbox cards. He sees the protest on TV. He talks to Will. Will's been running deliveries.
What kind of deliveries?
I don't know. What was it?
It was something illegal.
Yeah, definitely something illegal. Was it?
He said, it's not milk in those containers, son. Yeah, I know, Dad.
So is he making more Molotovs for the Protestants, or is he trying to help out the Catholics?
I don't know.
I just assumed he was running alcohol.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, he's definitely in trouble. So Northern Ireland has highest rate of unemployment in UK. Then more Sydney talk. Then we go to the park. There's, they're playing basketball. They're doing the long jump. There's more Van Morrison.
Pa shoots the worst shot you've ever seen.
Dude, that guy. Yeah. And then there's women talking about leaving. And that's when, her friend says the Irish were born for leaving. I was like, oh, man.
What a line.
Yeah. And then finally we get Danny Boy. They're like, oh, yeah. When am I going to play Danny Boy? And then that's when the other joke happens.
What a good one.
Where she's this lady in the street singing She's Been Drinking. And she's singing Danny Boy. And then he's like, comes up to her and she's like, what? And he's like, nothing. I was just wondering what you did with the money your parents gave you for singing lessons. Like, bam, got him. And of course,
what a good line.
Everybody's having a good time. Next, then we have Pop and Granny. This is before they know they're gonna have to take Pop to the hospital, but they're drinking tea. They're talking philosophy. Then they start talking. I say turns dirty. It doesn't. It's more just like them. Oh, you take my breath away every time you walk in the room.
It was cute. It really was cute.
It was cute. And then Pops keeps coughing. Yep. Then we get to the bus scene, talking about moving. Buddy, who is clearly listening because he's right there on the street, and there's nowhere to find privacy here. Ma's definitely against it.
But this is the first talk of that house in England.
Yeah. And this might not be the first time this brings up, but this is another thing that Ma's definitely against it. The question that keeps coming up, and this is how she says it, and then it's going to be brought up again, and it's probably brought up before then. Sounds like they want you. What do you want? That gets brought up.
Yeah.
People ask that question of each other like at least 3 or 4 times in this movie, where it's like Pop asking Buddy, what do you want? Ma's asking Paul, well, what do you want? Somebody else. It's just like that is a question of, well, it sounds like blah, 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 but what do you want?
Yep.
And so I think that was another one that, just kept coming up. Can't move away. Things don't change. They need to decide by Christmas. Then we have Stranded playing. I love Stranded. It's a great song by Van Morrison. Pop's in the hospital. Then again, Pop's talking to Buddy, and that's when he's talking about. I guess he's talking about leaving. He's like, no, because because you're gonna be here. But Pop, is kind of giving words of wisdom. He says, what do you want? Again, he says, what do you want?
Yep.
And then we get a good Pop hug. Then we have a Christmas Carol. That's when the Granny has the colored glasses. Bus ride home.
I love Christmas Carol. I'm so glad that was in this movie.
Yeah. Then they talk again. This is not necessarily. This is kind of an illusion, but they talk about Shangri-La from Lost Horizon.
Yes.
She's talking about Lost Horizon back when she was a kid. Then we go to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Lots of Christmas,
which Ryan has seen 85 times.
And he, to the point that he goes, "Hey, there should be an intermission right there."
True. Sure. You want to share that real quick? Share what you mean.
This movie isn't supposed. It's not how it's supposed to be.
Growing up, we watched it all the time, and they skipped the intermission in this one.
And they would have not skipped the intermission.
You don't think so?
In 1969, Northern Ireland,
they said, "Hey, we got to get out because we got that curfew."
Oh yeah. Oh.
Solved it. There, just solved it. Yeah, I'm sure that's not what it was. Then we have Christmas, lots of toys. I said Flannery O'Connor earlier. It's not. It's Agatha Christie. I get them mixed up. I shouldn't.
Oh, that's right. Well, it's a reference to the fact that Kenneth Branagh is in 2 of her book to film adaptations.
Yeah, exactly. Then that's when we get we're going to, what do you think about going to England? He freaks out.
And he goes, no, I don't want to go to England.
There's no cousins, no Pop, no cousins.
And we all look at each other and we go, same brother.
Yeah, kids pass out sitting up. And then that's when Pa says, what you're doing is phenomenal. I didn't raise these kids, you did. And so he thanks him.
Such a good scene.
Oh man, it's real. Then let's see. He finds himself in another protest. Looters. Mommy, we're looting the supermarket.
Oh my gosh. This
comes back with a thing of detergent.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
Why do you have that detergent? It's biological.
It's biological.
And you just see the word biological on the...
Mommy, we're looting the supermarket.
We're looting the supermarket.
Why are you doing that? It's biological.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
Mom making them put it back. Billy finds them.
We don't put things back. It's not what we do.
It's a teaching moment. So then, Billy...
We don't put things back. And then he grabs them and takes them hostage.
Yeah, and then uses them as body shields, and that's when we have the standoff.
All the time.
Between...
He's holding the detergent.
Billy is, or Buddy?
Buddy.
Buddy is. Yeah, he holds on to that. It's biological. So Billy finds them. He uses the family. He's walking them up the street when the riot police show up, and so is Pa, protesters. And so then it's Pa versus Billy. And then the astounding happens. Which one of them?
Will tosses
Pa a brick.
rock. Yeah.
And then Pa makes a Tom Brady touchdown
greatest throw in human history
to knock the gun out of his hand. And then that's when Ma pushes Billy and then saves Buddy, and then the police move in. And then the cousins show up, and they're like all huddled against them.
And they even welcome the cousin in, despite trying to
get him in the gang.
Trying to get Buddy involved in this.
She was the reason why they were in that situation. You think like she brought him into the gang, was like, we're looting the supermarket. Oh, I guess I should come over here too.
No, I'm going home. No, you're not. You can't go home.
It's like, before I get arrested, I'll go over here. And then they get an APC escort home. And then that's when you get the living room, detergent on the coffee table.
See, I was confused about that because I thought they lived on the same street as the store.
No,
oh, really?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, they don't show that it's not, but I just assumed it wasn't.
Yeah, I assumed it wasn't either. I assume it's the same neighborhood, but not. It's kind of like I don't think Mr. Singh's, when they robbed that candy store, I don't think that wasn't either.
No,
that might have been like close to the supermarket.
All the houses just look the same. That's the thing.
Well, yeah. Because it's black and white. So then,
and they're the same shape.
Yeah, and then so they start packing, start to move to England. Pop is dying, and
then does die.
Paul's running out of time. He says, "Get yourselves to the moon." And then there's the school moon project, Catherine and Buddy. And then cops are back. So Buddy's running across town, Pa's in the pub. It's like the cops are back. They're there to tell him that Pop has passed. Some more Van Morrison. Then, you get to the funeral.
Yep.
Right? The preacher's preaching, they bury him, and then there's a party.
There was straight up a party.
There was a party? Is that something that they do? They party?
What song were they singing? It's a real popular classic. I got it. I know what it is. It is Everlasting Love.
Okay, Everlasting Love. He has a tambourine, and apparently he can sing with or without the mic.
Yeah.
But he's wooing Ma. Like, Ma sees him, and she's like, "Oh, okay, who's this man up here that's singing? Oh, it's my husband."
His dad's dead, and now he's romantic.
Yeah, right. Like I'm so confused. So, but it was a great party. Everybody loved it. It's probably Buddy's probably got a little brother or sister on the way, and then but
an English one.
Yeah, that's true. And then there's one last thing to take care of before leaving Belfast. He has to make a delivery to Catherine, and he says, "I'll come back." She says, "Make sure you do." And then I don't think he does. So anyway,
no, I don't think we checked the names of his wives. Neither of them Catherine. And then and we get that great shot of them driving away on the bus, and we just fade away from Granny.
Yeah, she says, "Go now, don't look back."
And she's all alone.
Yeah, it's tough. So
so the moral of the story is don't get old.
Don't. Have you guys had? So we're from different parts of the country now, living in fairly far away from our homes, right?
None of us are particularly close.
It's not exactly a day drive where I'm at, but have you guys had that moment with like your parents or your grandparents where it was like, okay, this is where I'm going to be now? I don't know, like that moment where she's like, don't look back, just go.
Yes.
What was it?
That moment was so. When I was going off to college, my good buddy Aaron, friend of the podcast,
he's been on the show.
He's been on. He had elected to, instead of going to CMU, he had elected to go to Southwestern Michigan College for 2 years first, just because it's so much cheaper to go to community college first. And so I raised the question to my mom. I was like, "Is this smart? Should we be considering this?" And my mom was like, "No. Go to the university, get that experience." And that was kind of that like, get out of Hartford, Michigan.
Yeah. Don't
look back kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Ryan?
No. If my mom had her way, I'd still be in Jersey.
Oh, really? Did she still kind of give you grief about it?
Not really, but
She's come to terms.
She would rather me be there.
Yeah,
than
of
here.
course. Yeah. I tell you, of course, my parents, they're very much that. They're like, yeah, come back home, and of course, it's all loving. They're super supportive. But I very tangibly. So with my grandmother, it was about the time. I believe it was right after my grandpa had passed away. I want to say, but I was looking at moving. I had no idea where I was going. At the time, it could have been like Dallas, Nashville, China, like any of those, like, those three.
The big three.
Yeah, the big three right there. But anyway, it wasn't going to be. It was like, I know that I've got to leave. I've just got to move. And so that was like a tension that I had in my mind, and it was. I want to say it had to have been Easter or something where I was visiting. So it wouldn't have been. I don't know. Anyway. It was pretty close to me looking at whether or not I wanted to stay here. And I remember it like kind of just like that tension. Like, well, if I call this home, then I'm leaving them. And I do remember that. It was so my grandpa hadn't just passed, but it was still like something. It was like our first Easter that we really celebrated without him. And you know how those holidays, like when you lose someone, a loved one.
Yeah, you notice it hardcore.
Yeah, exactly, that they're not there. And I remember just very tangibly, we walked in the house. Everybody else was out in the yard, like, eating, playing games, that sort of stuff. And she was like, well, you like in Nashville? I said, yeah, I am. I'm enjoying it. And she looked at me like just in the eye and she said, you're not coming back, are you? And I said, I don't think so. And she said, well, don't let anything that's happening. We had some family drama going on. Don't let anything that's happening here hold you back from where God has you. And that was like, that was Hug Nana moment. Like that was, but it was like, so that is, that for me was that, like that when he's saying go, when Granny's saying go, don't look back. Yeah. Obviously my life was not, any sort of protest or, Protestants, Catholics.
You weren't surrounded by a civil war, exactly. Religion.
Yeah, but at the same time, it still was like, it was just like a theme that when that happened, I was like, that I know what that feels like to a certain extent. And that's part of the reason why I really like this movie, like that, your idea of home, thinking about how much more it means to others, leaving home, and then just that constant question. Because that is a question when you make that decision. Is like, what do you want?
Yeah.
And it's so tough because
most people don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah. Well, you want it because that decision to leave, that decision to stay, or to do anything like that. Obviously, like I said, with something like this, it's like hyper focused. Like this is a big decision. But for most of us, when we make that decision, hopefully we try to be as selfless as possible in that. Where it's like, well, I don't want to leave. I don't want to do this because then I'm leaving. What am I leaving behind? Who can I be taking care of? That kind of thing. When really we just need those loved ones around us to just say, hey, what do you want? Like, do that. Don't let those kinds of, that hold you back. And it's interesting because I think for me, since I've moved away, like a lot of my relationships with my family have actually grown stronger because then it's just, I don't know, something about that's galvanizing.
The heart grows fond in the absence.
Yeah. No, it's more like it's a forging of, like, because we made this decision, it just kind of matures it. Like my conversations with my parents are a little bit more mature in the way that, and maybe it's independence, but then also it's like with my siblings, with my grandparents, that sort of stuff. It just kind of brings an air of maturity there. That you don't really think about on the front end, like, oh, I'm sacrificing this relationship because I won't see him as much as I would be able to, and who knows, get homesick, that sort of thing. But then when you actually move out, you go, well, it's in that absence, like you have to call them, right? You have to make that phone call if you want that relationship to last. So then it's like, well, if I have to go out of my way to maintain this relationship, that means it's real. That means we both like desire that to maintain that close relationship. So anyway, yeah. That's what, in conclusion, I really want to go. Yeah, I really want to go to Belfast now. I'm like, hey, let's go visit. But
I'd like to go to Ireland.
Ireland. Go to Northern Ireland.
Do you think they call it Ireland?
What do they call it?
I'm asking.
Do you Ireland?
Ireland.
Like New Orleans.
New
Orleans. I've never been to New Orleans.
Go on down to New Orleans then.
New Orleans.
Oh wow, that's terrific.
No, I don't think they call it Ireland because that seems like that'll get you beat up. But
I think most things would get you beat up there.
That's wow. You're totally.
Oh, you don't drink there, you little sissy lad, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot the line. So, sorry. Pa drops off Buddy at school, and then Billy's standing there.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You know what your problem is? You always thought you were better than the rest of us." And he said, "And you know what yours is you know you'll never will be." And it's like,
man, that's cold.
He's like, "You're not." He's like, what does he say? "You're not a Protestant gangster. You're just a gangster. That's all you'll ever be," or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just like, but that so Billy's that guy, right? That is just he's at the forefront at things like this. Like, I don't know. I just had another moment where, for some reason, the antagonist, like Billy Clanton, in this movie, I felt the most, I would say, indignation with him as a character than I have in a lot of antagonists in movies, including Voldemort. Like, you know, like, because I was like, this is a guy who is he's a wolf among sheep that he's trying to use this thing, this movement, and it's less about him being Protestant and more about his own like ideas, pushing his own ideas, and ultimately like just trying to be
just a power hungry guy.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And like that's another thing where I was like, it's not talked about, it's not really shown a lot, but like that conversation with Pa, that's when it clicked with me, like, oh yeah, this guy's a snake. Got it. Like, avoid this guy.
Yep.
You know. So anyway, and there's no telling what what he's not willing to do to, you know, under the guise of Protestantism.
Shoot a child.
Yeah, right. Like he's willing to do that for, you know, air quotes, Protestants, but it's like you're not. You're a snake. And so also felt like that was really poignant. Like I felt like that was topical today, to be mindful. We do have not like religion, but in anything in our culture, like we do have these movements, and I think we do have like caricatures of people who are just power hungry, want to just jump on the bandwagon and advance their own cause.
And they'll use the cause for...
Yeah, and we need to be mindful of that. So anyway, that was another one that conversation, I was like, dude, I really hope he doesn't kill Pa in this movie, because I'm getting some Mufasa vibes. But thankfully it didn't happen, so they all came out safely. So nobody died. Pop died in this. He passed away in this movie, but no one was like that we saw on screen was killed.
We didn't see anyone die in any riots or anything.
Yeah. Anyway, so
that's Belfast.
Any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Go watch it. It's too short for you to say, oh, I don't want to watch it.
We need
go
to.
Watch it.
We're not going to rank it because it's not a part of our 100.
But we are going to rate it.
But we will rate it. What should our ratings be? Hold on.
Our movie-specific rating system.
Yes.
How many boroughs are there in here?
This movie took place in 1969. On a scale of 1 to 1969, how good is this movie?
That's pretty good. I give it a 15.99.
15.99?
Yep.
So you give it 81%? 80,
oh, wow. I feel like it was a little higher than that.
Sorry, I've got a calculator.
You got a calculator.
Yeah.
I'm confident with that. That's good.
Okay.
It was very good.
All right. I give it 1,772, which is around 90%. I did it the other way. There was no point.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was like, what?
Was it like
I
get off the hip? Ryan, do you have a? You can just give a scale 1 to 10 if you want.
I think I'll go with like an 1800, so around a 90%.
Okay, nice. That's pretty high. Ryan liked it. Yeah.
Boom.
Nice. Well, guys, I was gonna say next is 3 Idiots, but it's not 3 Idiots. It might not be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
this is a bonus episode. Yeah. Whatever you listen to next is up to you.
I mean, ultimately, like, yeah, right. All right. Well,
If you're listening to this, go back and listen to Three Idiots.
Yeah, go back and listen.
Have you not listened yet? Why did you listen to this before Three Idiots?
Go back. Three Idiots. Thank you guys for being here. Do we have Marty? Is there anything else we need to talk about before we sign off?
This would be the time where we talk about our tour dates and stuff.
Yes.
Since we don't do that, I don't think we have anything to discuss. We're going to be touring
tomorrow. We're going to be touring. Actually, we're touring this afternoon at Crest Coffee House.
That's right.
So if you want to meet and greet, we'll be signing autographs. If you want to meet and greet, you just meet us in 30 minutes.
Yep.
And hope to see you there.
Yep. Probably a month before you heard this.
All right.
If you would like to see this in person, it's probably negotiable.
Yeah.
There's probably a price.
I'd let someone pay to sit in on an episode. They could sit on that couch right there.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, what are some things that kind of give the people what they want? Some things that are coming up. What do we step it up? We are going to work on, I don't know when eventually. This is a project we'll put on paper. Work on eventually moving over. We're moving.
Yeah.
As in we're moving.
Our setting table.
Up about 15 feet.
Yeah, we're moving.
True.
And it's gonna be
a permanent podcast space
in a spot that it feels like that we can actually film. Yeah. On how would we do that?
We would like to film someday.
Yeah, film it on and put it on our YouTube.
Yeah.
So just know that that's coming up in the next 7 years, and we're really excited.
Yeah, we won't put a time on that. But
I just did 7 years.
Just know that we're having conversations.
Yeah.
When it does come, we'll be on YouTube, Twitch, Vimeo, probably all the streaming platforms.
Twitch. Get Patreon. Join us live.
Yeah. Anyway, so just to let you know, we're talking about it. We're thinking about it.
Hopefully, by the time this goes up, we have some reels.
Oh yeah,
or some Instagram reels.
Yeah.
Stuff. That's something we've talked about.
Yeah. So we're working on it, and we would just be really happy and excited if you joined us along on this journey as we try to figure it out.
As always, leave comments, send us emails, suggestions. What do you want to see us talk about
on Instagram?
I mean,
do the thing.
Yeah, do the thing, man.
All right. Well,
Godspeed.
Talk to you guys later. I hope you enjoyed listening to Three Dudes in a Movie podcast, part of the TDM Media Network. If you like what you heard, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, share it with your friends, and leave a review on your nearest podcasting platform. You can connect with us by following us on Instagram at 3dudesmoviecast, or email us reviews, ideas, questions, etc. directly at tdmoviecast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.